You ever wake up, walk into work, and wonder if today's the day you don't walk out? That's my life. Every night, I put on this uniform, clip my radio to my belt, and step into the kind of job no one else will touch. It pays well, real well, but not because of the hours or the work itself. No, this job pays well because it eats you alive. Let me tell you about the night I realized exactly what I'd signed up for. I've been a security guard for 2 years now. When I started, I thought it was just another job. Patrol the compound, keep an eye on things, and call it a night. But during my first interview, they handed me a non-disclosure agreement. Not unusual, I thought, until they had me read it aloud. Line after line, my voice trembled as I listed off scenarios I could barely believe, unexplained noises, entities I wasn't allowed to approach, and rules that sounded more like survival tips than workplace guidelines. I laughed at first. The hiring manager didn't. "Follow the rules," they told me, "or you won't be around long enough to regret it." I was stationed at an office compound. Seemed normal enough, shared by multiple companies, a mix of day workers and night cleaners. But then, there were the rules. Rule 1, never enter Building 4. Doesn't matter what you see or hear, ignore it. Once, during a morning shift, I asked a day worker about it. He glanced at the building, went pale, and muttered something about needing coffee before walking off. Rule 2. If you're sweeping Building 6 and run into a woman, don't acknowledge her, don't look at her, don't answer her, and definitely don't stop your patrol. She'll try to talk to you, taunt you even, but you mustn't engage.
Listen me.
Once she told me there was something behind me, her voice dripping with malice. My hands shook the rest of the night, but I didn't look.
There is something behind you.
Rule 3. The gate stays locked from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., period. It was a quiet night. 6 months in. The sky was lightening, dawn creeping closer, when I heard knocking at the gate. Through the bars, I saw my coworker.
"Hey man, let me in,"
he called. His voice was casual, his smile easy. I reached for my keys when my phone buzzed. I answered without thinking.
"Hey, I'll be late by 30 minutes,"
said a voice on the line. It was my coworker. My blood froze. I turned back to the gate. The figure was still there. His expression twisted into something unnatural. He slammed his fists against the bars, screaming for me to let him in.
"Let me in."
I retreated to the guardhouse, locking the door, and watched the clock tick to 7 a.m. At the stroke of the hour, the noise stopped. When I looked again, the figure was gone. That was my first real brush with the things we deal with here, but the stories from other guards, they'd keep anyone up at night. Like the guy stationed at a residential building. An old man called him up to his apartment, only for the guard to find the man's wife sobbing over her husband's dead body. The guard froze. He swore the man had walked him to the door. When he turned back, the old man was gone, but his lifeless body remained. Or the farmstead. A guard named Jeff told me about the night he heard his name called, soft and playful from the cornfields.
Jeff?
When he demanded the voice,
"Show yourself!"
a man emerged, only this man stood waist-high in crops that should have towered over him. The grin on his face was far too wide, his voice sickly sweet as he whispered,
"Jeffrey."
Jeff ran and never looked back. For a month, I was stationed at a private clinic. My main job was monitoring the cameras, but camera 3, it stayed off. No exceptions. They told me not to ask why, and I didn't. One night, around 3:30 a.m., I saw him on the camera covering the security office. A man standing motionless just outside my door, his face tilted down as if staring straight through it. I didn't look directly at the door, even though I could feel him there. They'd warned me about this. Don't open the door, don't leave the room. He'll be gone by 6. I stayed glued to my chair, watching the feed. Every so often he'd shift slightly. Never closer, never farther. Just watching. When the clock struck 6, he vanished. I haven't quit. I tell myself it's the money, the adventure, the thrill of surviving the night. But deep down, I know the truth. This job changes you. You learn to ignore the unexplainable, to lock away the fear and carry on. But sometimes, late at night, I wonder, how much longer can I follow the rules? What happens if I don't? And worse, what happens if I already broke one and just don't know it yet? There's a lot I don't understand about this job, but one thing's clear, those rules, they're the only thing keeping me alive. For now.